If you watched the last video, I mentioned buy to open and sell to close. Now, depending on your version of Webull, you might not actually see these buttons yet, and that is completely normal because most accounts show them and then some of them don't. It depends on what type of trader you are, but every options trade still follows the exact process behind the scenes, regardless if your accounts show these buttons or not. So today, I'm going to explain what these terms actually mean because once you understand them, options become a lot less confusing. Even if you never see these actual buttons, this is what's going on behind the scenes. So today's goal is very simple: understanding open and close so that you don't press the wrong things or press the wrong buttons. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the word open means and exactly what the word close means as well, and why beginners mix these up all the time. So the first thing that you want to know is that the word open has absolutely nothing to do with calls or puts, and the word close has nothing to do with calls or puts. Nothing. They don't tell you what direction that you're trading in. They only tell you whether you're starting or ending a trade. So, open means start, and close means that you're ending a trade. They don't tell you about direction. So, let's start with the word open. Imagine that you don't own anything. There's no position, nothing. You haven't entered into any trades at all. So you decide that you want to buy a call. You think price of a stock is going to rise, and therefore you want to get in to a trade and take profit as a stock rises higher. The moment that you buy that contract, you're starting a brand new position. A position just means the specific contracts that you have active at a given time. You're literally opening a trade. That's why it's called buy to open, because you're buying contracts and it's opening a trade. You bought and then it opened a position. So before you trade, you own nothing. You own absolutely nothing. That's why it says no trade. You own nothing. After the trade, you own one option contract or how many ever that you decide to buy. Simple. You own nothing, and then once you buy, you own something. Now, if we fast forward a lot of the way, your trade goes your way, price rose up, you got some money, you made the profit, you made some money, now you want to get out. How do you actually end that trade? You're going to end that trade by selling the contract that you already own. So you owned nothing, then you bought to open, and then after you bought to open, then you want to get out. So you sell to close. You sell or close the trade that you previously had opened, and now you have no position again, but instead, now you also have the profit that you made. So your entire trade is going to look exactly like this. So you're going to start with no position. Then you're going to buy to open. That's your first step. Once you buy, now you have a option contract that's open. Later, right, so you're going to buy to open and now you own that option. Later, once you make profit, then you're like, I'm ready to get out. And then you're actually going to sell to close out that option that you just had opened. So you're going to sell whatever you had opened. Now you're back to having no position because you don't have anything open, but you do have that profit that you did make when your trade went to your desired direction. That's the complete life cycle of the basic options trade, these 5 steps. But here's where mostly of everybody is going to start to get confused because they think that the words buy and sell are the important part, and they're really not. The most important part is actually open and close because those tell you what you're actually trying to do. Here's a very, very easy way to remember this whole thing. So let's just say you're trying to walk into a room. When you walk into the room, you opened your visit. You've walked into the room, you've opened the door, and you've now visited that room. When you leave, you close the door and you walk out. Trading works the exact same way. Opening means that you're entering and closing means that you're leaving. It's just that simple with those two terms. Now, you might hear people say sell to open, or you might hear them say buy to close. These are very real terms, but they're usually used when traders are selling options instead of buying them. When you are selling options instead of buying options, that is a more advanced strategy. So you can buy to open a position and then sell to close that position to where you end back up with no position, but you left with your profit. Or you can actually do a whole different, more advanced strategy where you're selling options. And if you're just starting out, honestly, don't even worry about that. You're probably not even going to end up doing those. So don't really even worry about those. Focus on just this 5-step workflow. Here, this whole flow of no option, buy to open, and so forth. So once you understand buy to open and sell to close, once that is automatic, you're going to then learn other advanced things on the side later. So remember these two questions when you try to understand the terms open and close. Are you starting a trade? That's an open. If you're ending a trade, that's close. Once you know that, the terminology is simply just that. So when you open or close, they do not tell you the direction. They don't tell you call or put. They don't tell you what direction that you want to be in. They only tell you enter or exit. Entering is your open. You're entering into a trade or you're entering into that room. When you want to exit, literally, same thing. You are getting out or you're closing and you're walking out of that room. And the one problem that every beginner is going to run into when they finally understand this is that they were going to choose a contract, like we talked about in the previous 2 videos. If you haven't watched this playlist so far, make sure you're watching the videos in order. So once you choose a contract that we talked about in the previous videos, you choose a contract, you get into the trade, everything looks great, and then nothing happens, and your order just sits there. And the order just sits there, and the order doesn't fill. It doesn't start making money. And then you start wondering what you did wrong. And most of the time, you didn't do anything wrong, because there's a very simple reason that it happens, that when you enter your trades, they don't actually fill and they don't become active. So for this lesson, understand that most beginners mostly only use buy to open and sell to close. That is literally what we talked about here, buy to open and sell to close. So I'm gonna highlight that again for you here, right? This buy to open and this sell to close is the same thing as buy to open and sell to close that we have down here. Everything else is pretty much more advanced. So in the next video, we're going to understand the very simple reason that your order may or may not fill. And once you know what to look for, you'll be able to fix it in seconds. So make sure you watch the next video and I'll show you exactly why your Webull orders won't or will fill, and the first thing that you should check before changing anything when they don't fill.